Hey, good morning, friends. I'm so glad you decided to join me to get your morning started with a biblical perspective. Today we're taking a little pause in our religious relics series. We will go back to that because I still have so much more information I want to share, but we will be starting a new kind of timely series on, if you saw the graphic, PRiDE. So I hope you enjoy. So friends, this series is a little bit delicate, but I want to approach this topic with a little different viewpoint because, let's be honest, when June is here, it feels like we are being semi-suffocated by rainbows and virtue signaling. It's everywhere. Clothing stores, billboards, themed social media stickers and profile frames, on the radios, in the news, pre-printed in all of our planners, splashed throughout the backdrop of our Fire Sticks and Rokus, and even featured on the reusable grocery bags at checkout. The month of June comes with a cultural pressure to not only share support, but actively participate in Pride Month. The coordinated intentionality to gain celebration from our culture is glaringly obvious. The desperate screams of compliance from the government, retail giants, social media companies, and the entertainment industry could literally breathe life into the term rainbow capitalism. Whatever your stance is on the Pride Month topic, you have to admit there has been an accelerated push to subtly participate, even if it's just in your own home by turning on any sort of device in the month of June. But some of this supposed support is not without criticism, because I found another term, which I actually love, called slacktivism, which is one of my personal problems with social media. Yes, friends, when you're posting something on Facebook with just a hashtag, it's not doing anything for the cause. But in the context of Pride Month, many companies get on the bandwagon to sell the merch, but they don't actually, and I'm putting this in quotes here, do anything for the movement itself. They just want to get on the cha-ching action. And selling this merchandise at every big box retailer, on coffee mugs, and my goodness, even on dog leashes, does make people feel like everyone else is wearing it and supporting it. There will probably be a rainbow Boy Scouts flavored popcorn next year if there's not one already. So rest assured, friends, we're not going to necessarily talk about the Pride Month movement. I know by the end of June we'll all be throwing up rainbows anyways. We are going to be talking about Pride itself. I think for this series to be effective and with all the sensitivity around Pride Month, it's important for me to define what I'm referencing when I use the term pride in these episodes. Pride is a feeling of deep pleasure or satisfaction related to self-worth derived from one's own achievements. Pride Month is a time of celebration, commemoration, and activism for the LGBTQ+ community. These are two separate things. When I'm speaking about Pride Month, I will say Pride Month. When I'm speaking about pride, as defined before, I'm speaking about pride. I'll let you decide how the two may correlate. We're going to talk a little history about Pride Month, just because I think it's important to have some context, and I'll go into it a little bit more in later episodes. The fact that the title Pride was chosen to represent this month was always thought-provoking for me. As a result, I wanted to understand the why behind picking the word pride for this movement. The name could have reflected uniqueness or celebration or sparkle or discovery. Instead, pride was the focus. The history of coining the actual term gay pride seems to be a little muddled. When I did some research, I found a variety of theories of who actually cultivated the term and where it derived from. President Bill Clinton first recognized Gay and Lesbian Pride Month in 1999, which those represented within this month, just like the pride flag, would morph to ensure diversity and different groups are represented over the next 20 years. Pride Month is now inclusive of a larger cast of characters. As we know, it's gone very much from Gay and Lesbian Pride Month to celebrating a lot of different things. Here we are in 2024 in June. June was selected for Pride Month to commemorate when the gay bar Stonewall Inn was raided by the police in June 1969. We'll talk more about this event later, but after this event, there was 5 days of rioting, thus Pride Month was in June. I think it's also important for this series to define vanity, which is used interchangeably with pride throughout Scripture depending on your interpretation you're reading. Vanity is the inflated pride in oneself. To distinguish the difference between pride and vanity, Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice character compares them. She says, pride relates more to our opinion of ourselves, vanity to what we would have others think of us. C.S. Lewis wrote in Mere Christianity, pride is a spiritual cancer. It eats up the very possibility of love or contentment or even common sense. Yes, Brooke, I just put in C.S. Lewis in my podcast just for you. Okay, let's look at a biblical example of pride. We're going to be in Daniel 5, and we find King Nebuchadnezzar reflecting on his kingdom. And he says, "Is this not Babylon the Great, which I myself has built as a royal residence by the might of my power and for the glory of my majesty?" These comments were not unnoticed by God. While the word was coming out of the king's mouth, a voice came from heaven saying, "King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is declared, sovereignty has been removed from you, and you will be driven away from your mankind, and your dwelling place will be with the beasts of the field. You will be given grass to eat like the cattle, and 7 periods of time will pass over you until you recognize the Most High is the ruler over the realm of mankind and bestows it upon whomever he wishes." Immediately the word concerning Nebuchadnezzar was fulfilled, and he was driven away from mankind. He lived like a wild beast, and he even had his nails turned into claws like birds. The good news is, this powerful king's story does not end by him eating with the cattle. He does eventually humble himself and return back to the Lord, saying, "I, Nebuchadnezzar, raise my eyes towards heaven, and my reason returned to me. And I bless the Most High. So I was reestablished in my sovereignty, and surpassing greatness was added to me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise, exalt, and honor the King of heaven, and he is able to humble those who walk in pride." Fast forwarding to King Nebuchadnezzar's son, Belshazzar. We get a different story of pride here. We open with Belshazzar hosting a lavish feast. He's been living luxuriously in front of thousands, showing off what he has, partying frivolously, and just being consumed with what he wants to enjoy. In the middle of the party, something really bizarre happens. A floating hand appears and writes an inscription on the wall. The king has Daniel interpret it. First, Daniel gives a little history lesson to the king and his subjects, reminding them of what pride brought King Belshazzar's father. "But when your father's heart was lifted and his spirit became so proud that he behaved arrogantly, he was deposed from his royal throne, and his glory was taken from him. He was also driven away from mankind, until he recognized that the Most High God is ruler over the realm of mankind, and that he sets it over whomever he wishes. Yet you, his son Belshazzar, have not humbled your heart, even though you knew all of this. You have exalted yourself against the Lord of heaven. You have not glorified God." Then the hand was sent from him, and the inscription was written out. And the message holds a stark warning. It said, "God has numbered your kingdom and put it to an end." And that same night Belshazzar was slain. Here we have an example of one king who humbled himself before the Lord and was restored. In contrast, we have his son, who not only saw what pride cost his father, but also what humility brought, restoration. However, King Belshazzar still chose pride. It was so ingrained in him that it cost him not only his kingdom, but his life. Many people listening today may not be ruling over a kingdom, and we may not have anything we want at the clap of a hand or a snap of a finger, but I think it's safe to say our society often praises and pursues proud self-indulgences. Social media has created a very low standard of character we need to have to feel relevant. If you have nice things, pretty pictures, and the hottest skincare routine, you're something to be aspired to. The most serious consequence of luxuriously living, or aiming to create a facade of a luxurious life, is the reality of forgetting God and elevating ourselves. James 5:5 says, "You have lived luxuriously on earth and led a life of deliberate pleasure. You have fattened your hearts in a day of slaughter." If our wealth develops pride or produces insensitivity to righteousness, then God says we will be judged by him. Living in pride results in worshiping your own self, relying on yourself, and living daily within the absence of accountability. often without considering how your actions affect others. This might be an extreme parallel, but because of King Nebuchadnezzar's pride, his consequence was being removed from the people and living like a beast. When we are living in a cycle consumed by our own pride, we are a mirror of this imagery. Just a beast recklessly pursuing what we think is best, and to the point of almost looking crazy because we don't want to humble ourselves or admit we were wrong. In my own life, this reminded me of marital arguments. Ladies, I think it's safe to say we've all been there. When you know you're wrong and you need to humble yourself in the middle of an argument, but you just do not want to admit it or give in. In the back of your mind, you're just like, I know I'm wrong and I'm being extreme about this, but I will not admit it. At least I hope you do, because I do that. I've defaulted to saying in those moments, look, I know I'm wrong, but I'm not going to admit it right now. And thankfully, my husband usually responds with laughter and the argument tends to dissolve. But I've been arguing something ridiculous and my pride will not allow me to submit. Friends, as we look at Pride in the next few episodes, I hope that it inspires you to take the Pride Month that's trying to be woven into the fabric of our society and actually turn it and apply it into your life in the context of checking your own pride. And a few points to reflect on today. Have you spent time in Scripture to develop your foundation for approaching the topic of Pride Month with your kids and others? What area of pride in your life has resulted in the biggest disappointments? How has the pursuit or desire to live more luxuriously caused you to focus on pride? Well, thanks for listening, friends. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'm really excited about this little sub-series we're doing on Pride. I have so much more I want to share and say about it. So thanks for listening. And just a reminder, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do, whether you're on Podbean, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or Audible. And I did record outside today, so if you heard my chickens or birds or my dogs in the background, that's just the soundtrack to my life. So I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, well, have fabulous days, friends, and I'll talk to you soon.